It's time to address who is actually the final boss in One Piece. It's clear to me Imu is the one, and by the way, he is not a woman. I am preparing a separate video regarding that notion, so stay tuned. But then there are those who believe Blackbeard will be the final villain, that he will somehow steal Imu's power, transform into devil, and things like that. Let's break down why it is not the case though. And while Blackbeard is a powerful adversary who could actually turn into a Cthulhu type of monstrous being, Imu remains the series' big boss. It is a very simple matter to put into perspective by pointing out two little facts. But first, I wanna quote the legendary pirate Whitebeard, who Blackbeard served under in his crew, to whom Whitebeard at the Marineford War, and while Blackbeard had already stabbed him in the back by murdering one of his crewmates, said, "The man Roger was waiting for, you are not him." And as we all know, Roger was waiting for none other than Luffy. Why was Roger waiting for someone though? What is that man supposed to do? That's simply to put Imu in his place by using the One Piece, something only the Sun God could ever manage. Through that, we can conclude that not only Whitebeard considered Blackbeard incapable of carrying out the mission, but also that best case scenario for him would be to become an adversary to the confirmed final boss and immortal Imu, given that the Pirate King himself couldn't deal with him and resorted to waiting for the chosen one. Keep in mind Roger defeated his era's Blackbeard equivalent, Rox Dixabeck. Also, like I said, Whitebeard was not someone random, but a legendary pirate, and we are obligated to take his words very seriously. Now, based on the Harley mural from chapter 1138, given that the left side seems to be a third world prophecy, meaning a prophecy for the present day, we already witnessed a silhouette of the final villain's transformation, with many insisting it is Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi awakened form. Firstly, let's agree that if we manage to conclude who that figure is representing on the mural, we will have identified the final villain as well, since the prophecy would be pointless otherwise. It being Blackbeard's awakening is actually not a bad idea. But here's the thing, Blackbeard for one has an enormous belly. How is it possible to have such a thin silhouette like that in the mural? This certain figure is much more fitting to the seemingly thin Imu and his long garment. Notice also how thin his arm looks, much like Imu's. This argument might be very simplistic, but valid nonetheless. However, here is an interesting discovery I made as a second clue that identifies Imu as the mural's silhouette. Notice how this certain figure has only 4 fingers, which is not a matter of the 5th being hidden behind the rest, as we observe it in both hands, so it must be true. Imu as well as Blackbeard both have normal 5-finger hands in their human forms. However, let's take a look at Imu's transformation when Sabo, who had sneaked in the castle, attacked him in the throne room. Notice how his silhouette during the transformation seems to also have only 4 fingers, in the manga as well as the anime. Therefore, it is a very big indication that Imu and the mural's big bad are the same person, and combined with the first argument confirm it, suggesting that the final battle will be against him and not Blackbeard. Consider also that Imu is considered God and is immortal, and not only do we know that the D-clan are the enemies of gods, and therefore their arch-nemesis should naturally be the ultimate god, but also in other popular anime, the final boss often identifies as God. Blackbeard's only chance would therefore be indeed to steal Imu's power and become God himself, something he won't manage to do successfully though, as Imu is not a Whitebeard on the verge of death. Keep in mind it would be a huge letdown to have Imu's reveal after being a huge mystery all this time, only for him to be second to Blackbeard. Blackbeard is the shame of One Piece, and betrayed the man who treated him as his son. He is destined to suffer a humiliating defeat, and not to remain in history as the Pirate King's biggest challenge. The true biggest challenge is related to something deeper, with roots in the ancient world, and two factions that Vegapunk admitted wasn't even clear who was in the right morally, even though Imu is committing unforgivable acts in the present day. What that really means remains to be seen. Meanwhile, I'm cooking on another interesting theory, so stay tuned for that. Take care of yourself so that you don't miss it.